So taking your seat, yeah, I like the experimentation. Beautiful. And we're just going to piggyback off of our yoga hug. Bring your right hand onto your heart and your left hand on top of your right hand. Relax your jaw, your tongue, your face. To get centered this evening, I'll share with you the words of the master. The master being a Tibetan monk, nameless to my knowledge. He was written about in Edwin John Dingle's autobiographies. So these are the words of the master. I greet my guru. I greet all gurus, bringers of light. I greet the East. I greet the West. I greet the North. I greet the South. I give thanks for all that there ever was. I give thanks for all that is. I give thanks for all that ever will be. May all beings be blissful. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. I am whole. I am perfect. I am strong. I am powerful. I am loving. I am harmonious. I am rich. I am young. I am happy. Breathing into the space beneath your hands. The inspiration. The inspiration. Greet your guru, your own heart, bringer of light. Little smile as you bow your head. Greet your own heart, your guru tonight. Let the breath lift your heart. Feel that space beneath your hands. Sweet. Now, let your palms meet. Rub them together and let the abrasion, the friction create so much heat and light and maybe even some color that when you palm the eyes and you allow the lids to rise, the eyeballs can be bathed in that powerful energy from your palms. And then before you let the hands drift down, make a decision to allow the view to come to you. So don't look out through your eyes, but rather allow your eyes to be receptive. And so a soft gaze, allowing eyes to be receptive as the hands drift away. Yeah. That never gets old. Oh, that feels so good. Okay. So tonight, for our physical practice, we're going to do feet and restoratives. And so feet just by way of anatomy lesson, and then some experience and creativity. So the anatomy lesson is this. These are called tarsals and metatarsals. There's a lot of bones, lots and lots of bones in the foot. The long parts of the fingers and toes, right, are called phalanges. And so let's see, what else do we need to know about this? There's an entire homunculus on the sole of the foot. And a homunculus is a very specific old medical term to indicate a mapping of the greater physical body across another part of the body. So for example, there's a homunculus of the brain where you can see the mapping of a big portion is attributed to the lips and to the hands and then to the eyes and so forth. Well, on the sole of the foot, you have the head, right? Each toe tip has a trigger point for the sinuses. You have the spine represented here, the organs of the body in the internal regions. If you ever have a difficulty with like lower back stuff, heel, is a real big part of it. So, you have but to Googlate the reflexology map, and you can see then the homunculus of, it's the whole body mapped out on the sole of the foot. Okay, some other things to know about the foot. The foot bone's connected to the leg bone. One more thing, and this is important. The feet are our second heart. That is to say, the heart in our chest pumps the blood into the periphery. And as it pumps the blood down to the feet, then of course, the veins that take it back up are working super hard. Well, every step you take is a heartbeat, helping to move the blood back up to the heart in your chest. So it is often prescribed by holistic practitioners, therapeutic practitioners, for someone who is grieving or someone who has heartbreak to walk, walk, walk in order to heal your heart. Okay, so let's kind of begin where we started last class with the feet in particular, and come on up to rising. And so maybe take a look at them at first, pick up your toes and separate them as broadly as you can. And then just notice any difference there. There's this esoteric practice called toe reading. And believe it or not, I'm not ascribing any accuracy. I don't really know that much about it, except for this one weird tidbit, and that is, they say that the gap between your big toe and your second toe is indicative of your intuition. So.
Like the bigger the gap, the better the.
Yeah, right. Like a nice healthy gap between those first two toes is significant of high intuition. So anyway, get your tarot and your toes read. So step right across the left and bring the outer edges of the feet as close to one another as you can manage. And of course, you're going to have to bend the knees a little bit, especially if you want to bring the arches of the feet into the floor. Now, notice what it calls on already. It's pretty wobbly scenario, and hug your thighs towards one another and notice how that develops the stability. Really nice. Okay, so because we throw, I say, do this with your feet, do this with your hands, and then we move. The movement is really articulation from the navel. So go ahead and draw the navel in nice and close, hug the thighs into the midline, really beautiful. Take the arms up, and then keep that action in the center of the body as you bow gracefully. Nice, soft knees, good, good, good. And so as soft as they need to be to bring the fingertips down, because here you're focused on pressing the arches of the feet into the floor. Now, when I say press, you are approaching the soft side of your edge. The edge of what? Sensation. Also, the edge of reason. Like, Uh-huh. Lefts and rights start to lose meaning in positions like this. And this is important because this is a brain balancing pose. It allows you to marry the hemispheres of the brain. Now, remember, the onus is at the middle, right? The navel center and the paraspinal muscles. So hugging the thighs together neatly, pressing the feet into the floor, sweeping the arms up, strong at the core. Gorgeous. Well done. Go ahead and come to the middle and just soften your gaze, but don't close your eyes because all you want to notice is what it feels like. Notice your feet on the floor. Is there any difference than the first time? First time you felt your feet. Okay. Second side naturally. Take it over. It'll be a different feel, different experience. Once you found your position, then engage the mid body to support you, rising up on the breath in and then bowing sweetly on your out breath. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Lots of space to experiment. Have you even been breathing this whole time? What a privilege we have to invest this time in taking good, exquisite care of ourselves. And so feeling that sense of levity as you rise, as you emerge, know that you are strong in your core body. Yeah. And then bring some loving passion into your beautiful heart. Remember why you're here. Okay. Remember the long part of your toes, don't look at them. So this is called proprioception, and that is knowing where your parts are when you're not seeing them. Yeah. So proprioception. So feel the long parts of your toes and then sweeping the arms up, slowly peeling the heels off of the floor. Now remember, it's your core body that keeps you super stable through this process. If it helps to imagine wearing a tutu, you know, go for it. Do what works. Keep going. So navel is so strong. And as much as it's available, protract the experience of the breath. Remember, we want the breath to envelop the movement. And so slow, sweet inhales. Yes, nice, nice adjustment. We're going to do about 3 more. Here's the anatomy piece. When you invite the core body to work for this balancing practice, what you're doing is you're taking the heavy lifting out of the calves. And that's important because the calves are more for fine articulation. The abs are for heavy lifting. And so let your abs do the heavy lifting. And then on this round, as the heels come down, you'll just bow into yourself and dangle, hang around. Shift and pedal, sway, and smile. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
So when we're in this pose, we should feel our abs engaged. We shouldn't be like letting them relax, right?
In a forward fold, should we be engaging our abdomen? You can let it relax. Yeah, good question. I'm trying to feel what that feels like, right? Huh. Great question. And yes, relax the abs. This is a relaxing pose, an introspective pose. And so you really can kind of just cool and soften. Beautiful. Okay, if you want a little stretch at the neck, you'll weave the fingers together and rest the hands on the occiput. So just at the base of the skull, let the weight of your arms pull a little length into the neck. Maybe, again, sneak some weight into the toes, into the long part of the toes. Allow the breath to be a part of this experience. Good. Release the hands. And we're going to do some what is called Chinese yoga, qigong, and drawing from the big toe side, arch side of the foot. You pull earth energy up through the middle of the thighs, let it come over the hip points, and just give a little swirl at the kidneys, just soothing the adrenals here. Nice. And then big arms up. On the exhale, as you fall forward, take the hands onto the rump and the outside of the thighs, the backs of the thighs, and just start to graze energy down, move it down the outside, and then maybe give it a fling out the baby toe side. Once again, pull from the center, arch side of the foot up over the hip points, a little swirl as you soothe your kidneys. Okay. We're going to take one blanket thusly. So Tadasana of the blanket and your ball. So we've got some options. This is a soft baseball, which is my preference. This is a super soft tennis ball. And then there's some like bocce balls and some hard baseballs in there too. So, you might have to experiment a little bit. It's going to be a matter of how sensitive your feet are and how tight the fascia are on the soles of the feet. Okay, so we have the blanket, and the blanket is simply to diminish the likelihood that your ball goes shooting across the room. And so what you want to do is you want to step on the blanket and first spread out your toes, let the feet be parallel to one another, hip distance apart, and then send your gaze forward, chin parallel to the ground. Your attention goes down to the feet. Here's something interesting. And even if you can't visualize anything, I think everybody's on the same page, whether you're visual or not. Feel your third toe. Huh? There's a complexity here because your toes share nerves. Yeah, I mean, same thing with the fingers a little bit, right? They articulate commonly. And so bringing attention to the toes is a ubiquitous challenge. And so sense, visualize, notice all your toes. And then just go systematically. Big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, baby toe. And just feel what it's like to bring attention into the individual toes. Feet. Now, outer edges of the feet, a little sturdier. Inner arches of the feet, more awareness. Heels. Good. Deep breath in, take the arms up. Eyes up, but not chin. Exhale, navel draws in and strong on your descent, but then you let the abdomen go as you bow forward. Now we're taking a look at the color of the feet and the space between the toes and just familiarizing ourselves with the feet. Then soft knees, you press all four corners of the feet down in order to rise. So coming up with the arms, palms meet at the heart. Have you all heard the statement, lift with your legs and not with your back? Okay, we're gonna do that whole thing again in order to feel like immersively what that means. And what it is presence at the feet. You're interfacing with the floor and your feet. And that's where lifting with your legs comes from. Nice. Okay. Deep breath in, take the arms up strong at the navel. And this supports your descent, feeling your feet and that interface between your feet and the floor. And then let that marriage take place, pressing the feet down to engage the arms. Brilliant. That was beautiful. Were you all able to feel how that changes the agency? Okay. Let your right foot be your foundation, and then choosing the level of torture that you're into tonight. You can start with a baseball and see if it's too hard. And if it's too hard, then maybe go to a tennis ball.
That's pretty good.
All right, if you're into it, then excellent. I am too. Okay, so the right toes are pointed directly forward, but the left toes can do whatever can point in any direction. Here, we're just working between the mound of the foot and the heel. So it's not actually under the heel or the toes. It's just here in the center and arch of the foot. Good. So if you're not already there, it's hands on hips, or I like to just bring my hands behind my back. Because I am lazy. And so the reason why this or this is because we want the spine to be erect through this process. And you'll notice that just by engaging the abdomen and the core body enough to keep the spine erect, this can be a heating process. You can start to get a little bit of heat here. Now, welcome the opportunity to lean in to some of the hot spots. There's probably more than one. Okay, stay with it. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm gonna go back to the anatomy part. So, fascia. Arguably, fascia is in everything. Even the very cellular walls are fascia. And so there's a malady that occurs actually more often in later in life called plantar fasciitis. And what that is the fascia of the sole of the foot has become inflamed and likely torn. Okay. And so the explanation is pretty simple. The fascia are these sheets, of tissue that should move easily, readily across one another. Then when you go to bed at night, you get still, they don't move. And then the body, the immune system goes into the process of creating adhesions to sort of sutures, to sort of suture up anything that might have gotten torn. Let's say you lifted weights or whatever, and, did some push-ups. So the body goes in and makes the reparations and so forth, but it overproduces those sutures. And what ends up happening is there'll be a little layer of adhesion that goes between those two sheets of fascia. So when you get up and you stretch in the morning, what you're doing is you're feeling those adhesions being stripped between the fascia, right? Now, you go to bed at night, adhesions take place, wake up the next morning, no stretch. Adhesions are still there throughout the day. Go to bed that night, get still, second layer of adhesions takes place. Next day, wake up late, have to run out the door, you don't stretch. Two days worth. Go to bed that night, third night's worth. The next morning, after that third night, that stretch is gonna have a different quality. And might lend you to avoid stretching, because the sensation of those stripping adhesions is so much. Now, go ahead and compound that over the course of many, many days or weeks or months or, God forbid, years of not stretching. And then one day you're just going along and you step on a rock and it rips the fascia rather than smoothly articulating, because I mean, our feet are all terrain. They're meant to articulate over all kinds of terrain. But if the fascia don't smoothly move across one another, then you're in trouble. Okay. Bring left foot next to the right foot, deep breath in, take your bow, and take a look. Difference in color. Difference in size. Maybe. Okay. Press the feet into the floor, rise up. Bring a little love into the heart. Soft gaze, but don't close your eyes. Take your attention to the feet and feel the difference between the two. Notice how much more of your left foot is on the floor. And so the bigger the foundation, the more stability. Yeah, good. Second side. Let me ask you, do you want the second side? Yeah. Yeah.
Really good.
Now, during this whole time that you've been experiencing this, this technique, any self-judgment? Have you worried about the cat, or, you know, leave the stove on? I don't know what, you know, I worry about all kinds of things, but it's not the same thing that a lot of people worry about. So, any of that? It was easy to be here for this. This technique will save your life later on, and I'll explain. One of the things that we lose over time is our balance, and it has to do with the vestibular system. We might lose teeth and therefore lose part of our sensory input. Our vision might go, and so our peripheral vision might be enclosed. That's part of our sensory input that we lose. We might lose sensitivity, you know, due to nerve issues or whatever. And then also, if we're not taking care of our feet, then this is a sensitivity that we lose, and therefore our ability to ambulate becomes diminished, and the likelihood of falling increases. So they say that after a certain age, and it's geriatric age, 70 maybe, I'll just say 70 is the ballpark, but look it up for yourself because this is readily available, this statistic. After 70, if an elderly person falls and breaks a hip, statistically, they will be dead within a year. And it has to do with a number of things. But what we know time and time again is that therapeutics and prevention, excuse me, let me back up. Prevention is way less expensive than, you know, remediation and therapeutics. And so, like, if we can keep from falling, then all the better. Another phenomenon that is very common, and it coincides with this statistic, is the anxiety increases as we age, if we're not purposeful to keep that from happening. And so you kill two birds with one ball with this technique, because not only is it increasing your capacity to balance through all of the means, giving you more solid foundation to move upon, and then increasing your sensitivity in order to reduce anxiety. And so if you feel symmetrical, and you don't have to be done until you're done, but when you feel symmetrical, just bring the feet next to each other and have a feel. I'm plenty warm right now. How about you guys? Yeah, it's fascinating how that happens. Okay. Good. All right. Let's shift now to hands and knees, and we're going to continue to play with the feet a little bit. And so pad the knees as you feel necessary. Send the right leg back and turn the toes under. See if you can get the baby toe turned under. That might just be its own experiment. And then you're going to press into the heel and move weight around in the toes. Nice. After a breath, replace the right knee, extend the left leg. All the feels. Yoga teachers, the first thing that we look at in order to make an assist, or in order to see if a posture has integrity, is the foundation. And often that's the feet. So go ahead and replace the left knee. Let's do this. Knees can be about double hip width. And then you're going to turn the toes under and reach back and take the calf flesh and rotate it outwardly as you come to sit the heels. Sweep the arms out to the left and the right, right under left at the elbows. Garudasana, this is eagle arms. You'll inhale, squeezing the elbows close to each other and lifting the elbows up a little bit. And then you'll exhale, tuck the elbows down towards your navel, maybe round the back a little bit, tuck the chin. Take 2 more breaths just this way. Good. Unwind, shift forward. Do whatever you need to do to recirculate it right here. Okay. So there are a few things that I want to point out here, and that is this. This can get really rich in sensation. And when it does, I want you to think logically about this, recognizing that you can trust your own stiffness. Yeah, you can trust it. I mean, yeah. One of the reasons that people will say, oh, I can't do yoga, I'm too stiff. Okay, do you really believe that? Let's do this pose. Can you trust how stiff your feet are, that they will support you and the weight of your body? Now, I can assure you, your toes are not going to break off. This is not going to be an injurious pose. Even if you sat here for a great deal of time, your feet would go to sleep, probably, but that would be it. So let's do this. Bring the knees together this time. Again, turn the toes under. If it feels right to pull the calf flesh out of the way, just to give your knees some space, then great. And so now just a little bit different angle, more comfortable, less comfortable, just figure that out for yourself. Take the arms out. It's left under right. Arudasana. This is eagle arms. Same action of flossing the shoulder blades. Here, you're feeling the fascia and the adhesions starting to strip. Yeah. Oh, get all the juice out of it. And then when you feel balanced, you can go ahead and shift forward again, recirculate. And then go ahead and shift onto your seat. When we ran the tennis ball, or we ran the ball under the left foot first, and then I had you all fold over so you could look at your feet. There may have been a visible difference in color. Any guesses why?
Circulation.
Boom. That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at that last pose. My toes are even wrinkly after that. And so what we were doing was we were, let's say, like pinching off a hose. We were cutting off circulation specifically. And then what happens when we let that go, just like a hose, there should be this flushing of freshly oxygenated, new nervous information all going into the toes. Once again, it almost sounds depressing when I keep talking about all of these maladies, but better to know about them and never have to deal with them than to have to know about them because you're dealing. So neuropathy. This is something that happens to us as we age, and it simply means the breakdown of the nervous system, and it's most often experienced by numbness or tingling in, the peripheral, toes and fingers, right? So when we do these poses and purposefully stop the flow in order to allow it to flush through, we're signaling the system, the nervous system, the immune system, hey, send some resources. There's stuff happening down here. It would make sense if the nervous function began to retract from things that you weren't using, right? That's, the natural sort of entropy, let's say, that would take place. If you're not articulating it, what's the point of sending information down there, or circulation? Okay, so let's go ahead and take the right foot, for example. Bring your right fingers from the top side in between the toes. Now, if you have rings on, it starts to get a little more complex, but we want to go all the way to the webbing. Now, don't worry, they will go. Need some coconut oil here. They will, I promise they will. Trying, they will get very close. Yeah. So already we're making space between the phalanges here in the foot. And so once you've got hold of it and those toes are well spread out, move it around a little bit. Oh. Feel what that feels like. So once again, the feet are all terrain, all terrain. But, you know, most people just wear a pair of shoes for 8, 9 hours at a time. And then they go home and, I don't know, put on some slippers or something, right? Probably don't go walking around on the rocks or swimming or, you know, all of the variety of things that one, you know, can potentially do with the foot. All right. Go ahead and release that. Take a look. More space, more color. It might be easier to go with the left hand to the right foot from the underside. And this is likely going to be a little more accessible. Maybe, maybe not. Get right up to the webbing if you can manage it.
That's a lot easier.
And then check this out. You've got this advantage. Thumb to arch of the foot. So yeah, get in there and hit some of those hot spots with the thumb. And so anything that comes intuitively, twisting and squeezing and rolling and pressing and massaging. Yeah. There's no urgency, no hurry, but when you're ready, you can just take a look. So interesting because of the fact that you don't have any weight in the feet now. And so you're gonna be able to observe some differences that would, you know, perhaps be masked if you had weight in the feet. Second side, as you're willing, left hand comes through from the top. So when you heard the words of the master, the prayer was, you know, may all beings be happy. And then he finished with saying, I am happy. There's something to that. And as you finish up this part, use your right hand to come in from the bottom side. So would you say that decision-making is easier when you're mad or when you're happy?
A little decision.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say, how about this? Is it easier to be patient and compassionate when you're happy as compared to, let's say, depressed or, you know, frustrated, hungry? Yeah. And so do you think that it's easier to bring your best self forward when you're happy? Yeah. How about, is it easier to be present when you're happy? Okay. And so if you feel satisfied, bring the feet and just take a look. Here, because you're seated, if you want to close your eyes, you can. And that might give you a new vantage point. experience what's taking place there at the feet. And so, if you'd like to name it, I'm interested. What is the experience? What's the quality of experience?
I feel growth. I feel like my toes are longer.
I love that.
Space.
Okay,
There's space between them that I didn't realize I was missing.
all right. Nicely done. Okay, well, good. Let's shift over to the left hip and bend the right knee in. Again, same technique of scooping the calf flesh out of the way, if that gives you more space in the knees. And then as much as possible, we're tucking the foot in next to the hip. So blankets all around. If you're cueing this, this might not be possible for a lot of people. And so the blanket would be out here if you needed to be something, somewhere like this. Yeah, for the knee, for the ankle. Like, we should never have bones on hard surface if we can help it. Okay. So go ahead and just sit up and feel the difference in weight between the left sits bone and the right sits bone. Okay, now smile a little bit, because I find this so fun, and I have a great affection for this. Get super tall, have a deep breath in, send your left sits bone down more. Oh, yeah. And so it calls on the musculature of the abdomen to do a thing. You can feel the hip flexors do a thing. The left hip sits bone won't go down as heavy as the right. But if you invite it, feel how that changes the musculature in the mid body. Okay. Good. If it's available, drop back to the hands. Okay. Hug the knees together and press the knees down. Beautiful. That was really nice, Sydney. This is first aid for lower back pain. When you're ready, maybe the elbows. Press the knees down and hug the knees together. Are you starting to feel low back being a part of it just a little bit here?
Feel my quad a lot, but not my low back.
Okay,
It's that long.
let's come on back up. Go ahead and shift over, unwind. And as you circulate, I want you to sit up tall and notice now that your right leg is longer than your left leg. Yeah. And so we were not there for very long in that pose. And that's how much space you were able to create in the hip and the knee, and maybe a little bit in the foot. But I've got a good quarter of an inch or something extra space now. I can see it, for both of you all. Good. Okay, don't do this yet. I want you to see what's possible. So I'm doing the same side. This posture is this when it's all said and done. I heard you guys saying it was a lot of quad, and that's just because it is unfamiliar. And as you get a little more supple and more familiarized, what you'll discover is that the quad will stop hollering at you, and you'll feel it in the low back. So look at my low back so that you can see. This is the back bend. Can you see that? That space?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's first aid.
And does that feel comfortable to you?
Oh, I love it.
Right. I want that to feel comfortable so much.
So when we did this side though, I couldn't, like your knees are parallel.
Mhm.
I couldn't bring, am I gonna hurt my knee if I have it out to the side doing that? Or is it like, do I need to bring?
Question, okay, so. So you're here. Okay. That's a great question. You are making this invitation. Making this invitation, making this invitation. That's all you're doing is making this invitation. If, as you start to drop back, making this invitation, is a no, you're not gonna go back any farther. Yeah, and so optimally, the knees are together and down, makes a safe, ultimately safe pose that you can recline fully in. And so there's a lot of working parts in that pose and a lot of ways in which, you can run into inhibitions, or limitations in the body. It could be injury, injuries, surgeries, all kinds of things. And so that's why, we start here, understanding that this might be as far as anybody can go. And look, my whole left sits bone's off the floor. And so that invitation, go ahead and do this, everybody. Bring your blanket out and so you can have an experience of that. And so the arch side of the foot on the floor and the ankle, bring the ankle on top of the blanket there. That's not, yeah. Good. And so you're leaned over to the left pretty significantly. Feel what it feels like to press the right hip down. IT band, yeehaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so this is as far as this person is going to go. There's no need to go any further than that. Yeah. And so then little bit by little bit, they'll start to bring it in little bit by little bit. And if you're out here stretching the IT band, the knee is going to get nice and open and you'll find more space and more space. So yeah, that's a good question. Is that comfortable for me? It is comfortable for me, but that one's 25 years in the making for me. So. All right, go to the second side. We don't want to walk out of here limping.
So when we get into this pose then, do we want to get into it more like this if we're not doing it as often, or do we want to try to have our knee?
You want to try to have the knees as close to each other as possible.
Okay.
And so now, so what I'm seeing there for you, Sydney, is limitation in the top of the foot.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And so we're back to feet again in this pose and the relevance of the feet. Yeah, good. Remember, the foot bone is connected to the head bone. There's some bones in between. And we're gonna feel all of the little points. So knees hug together and down, and you just drop into a depth that's available. Left hip, left sit bone wants to come down more. Maybe the elbows, maybe not. And more breaths. When you're ready to come out, recirculate, reawaken. So, partially for entertainment and partially for explication, I will show you. I have an injury that is 30 years old. My left ankle, I sprained when I was 16, and the ligaments and tendons are just stretched out like old rubber bands in here. So this ankle has integrity. This one's just barely on there. Yeah, and so, I mean, this is just one example of what kind of a spectrum of limitations or asymmetries might be possible in any given space or even in your own body. And so we like to do asymmetrical poses because they show us, they elucidate, left and right are not precisely the same, and that helps. Now, for a wise progression, a vinyasa krama, a wise progression sequentially, if you do right side and left side, then you want to like stamp it, seal it with a symmetrical pose. So this position is Ardha, half, Vajrasana, half rock pose. And you'll recall I showed you how to make your tushy roll. Okay, so here's where tushy roll might be coming in handy. And that's when we do full rock pose. Vajrasana actually translates to thunderbolt, which glitches me out because lightning bolt, yes, thunderbolt doesn't make sense to me. And so in Kundalini, they just call it rock pose. And so that would be knees together, scooping the flesh away, mounds of the feet together. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Knees together, flesh out of the way, heels hip distance apart, and then sits bones resting on the floor between them. And so now I've got both knees in that position. If I'm using my tushy roll, I can bring a little relief to the lower body. So give it a go. Knees together, ankles hip width apart. Scoop the flesh away of the calves and sit between your heels as much as that is available. The esoteric indicators suggest that knees are related to ego. And so we have but to look at the symbolism, they say bringing someone to their knees, humbled and to their knees. Now, the knees and the low back are linked, they're interrelated, and it's through this notion of ego, because we have our stability here in the core body, right? So low back, if your low back is out, you don't even know who you are. I mean, everything becomes insecure, everything. So let me ask you, do you trust your rigidness right here? Do you trust your limitations? Huh. Take a couple of breaths. Let gravity invite you. Respond to that invitation. 2 more breaths, 2 more deep, long breaths. slip all the way to the hands and knees. I mean, rock all the way to the knees. Maybe you have to put your head down. Exactly. Come to the hands and knees and stretch. Oh, yeah. Feel the flushing. And if you're inclined, down dog is perfect to have an experience of that recirculation. Nicely done. Hey. Let the knees come down. Here, go ahead and sit off onto one hip and kick the legs out front of them. If you'd like, a little pillow, do that for yourself. And then come on down to your back body. Ah, yes, knees bent. Uh-huh. Beautiful. Knees bent, feet on the floor. Without looking, because it would be complex to see anyway, but without looking, estimate the feet hip distance apart and the heels aligned beneath the knees. So not too close to the hips, not too far away from the hips, but a nice moderate position. Good. Feel the toes. Feel the outer edges, feel the arches, feel the heels. Okay. Now snuggle the shoulder blades up underneath you just a little bit more. Go ahead and bring the hands, palms down next to the hips on the floor. Pick your hips up just an inch or two, and then start to roll your hips around this way and that way. A little tuck, a little pelvic tilt, a little bloody-do. Yep. And so just any way that your hips will articulate. Nice. Okay. Now bring the hips to stationary and notice what your toes are doing. Good. That's good. Good acknowledgement. Okay. Bring the hips back down to the floor if you haven't already. Lovely. Leave your left foot on the floor. Draw your right leg in and clasp your hands behind the right thigh. Now, lengthen the right leg, like press through the heel of the foot and draw the knee nice and close to the nose. Yeah, you should be feeling a lovely stretch across the back of the thigh. Okay. Once you have a little bit of an edge, you're come to the soft side of your edge, point and flex. And so it's not tremendously easy to stretch the top of your foot or the front of your ankle, but here you might find some satisfaction. And then how about rocking and rolling and rounding and exploring? And so any kind of direction, pointing, flexing, and just expressing. Nice. Bring the foot to neutral, be just on the soft side of your edge. Go ahead and extend the left leg heel on the floor. Yeah. Couple more breaths right here. Good. Okay. Bring the hands down, palms down on either side of the hips. You've got the right leg extended. Press the heel up as if onto the ceiling. Nice. Now, pull the belly button down towards the spine. Float the left heel just an inch. Good. Press the small of the back into the floor. This is a stride. Okay? Notice how your abdomen has to engage as you switch the legs. Maybe just tap the floor, pick it up an inch. Hey, good. So this is a stride, right? Press the abdomen, or excuse me, press the navel into the back body and the back body into the floor. Switch legs. Try not to hold the breath. Switch. Good. Go ahead and bend the right knee, place the right foot down. Reach your hands around behind the left thigh. Pull it in neatly, and then enjoy the ankle and the foot. No urgency, just when you're ready, you might slip the right leg long, let the heel rest on the floor, just to add a little more stretch, maybe across the front of the right thigh, back of the left thigh. Good. As you finish, go ahead and bend the left knee, foot on the floor, right knee bends, foot on the floor. Pick the hips up and set them to the right, maybe 3 inches. Then left leg lengthens. Grasp right knee with the left hand. Draw right knee to the left side. Right arm like a wing. Okay. The cue, and so if you're in the room with me, just listen, and then I will come to your mat. But the cue, the verbal cue is allow the top left hip to slip down and forward. And so I'm going to demonstrate for the camera that all that means is this. If I'm lying on my back like you guys, it's just a tilt of that hip down. Okay, come around to the middle. Replace the hips, center. Notice the difference now. If you'd like, you can name those qualities. You can enumerate them in your own mind or shout them out.
Mobility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's coming up for me is alive. Like I feel more liveness. Yeah.
Strength too, like it feels stronger.
Ooh. Nice. Okay, knees bent, feet on the floor, just to pick the hips up, set them a few inches to the left. Now your right leg lengthens, heel on the floor. Left knee comes across the body. Now, depending on how much you do this pose or what your body, what the limitations of your body are, The question has emerged. Should the aim be to bring, let's say in this case, the left knee all the way to the floor? And when that happens, my left shoulder blade floats. Or should I keep my left shoulder blade grounded and let my left knee float? Yes. The floor is there. And eventually, if you've got a floating part, gravity will coax it down. Come to the middle. Draw the knees, so bring the hips to center, draw the knees in, and just bring the soles of the feet to meet. And if you like, you can just rock a little bit. Holding the soles of the feet together. Press the knees away from you. And then when you feel satisfied, you can go ahead and release. We're going to make ready for Shavasana next. So traditionally, we want to bring heads towards the teacher and feet away from the teacher. And so just shift, orient yourself, heads this way, feet that way, and then go ahead and grab bolsters and blankets and so forth. I'm going to come mat to mat and place sandbags. So your whole job right now is to just get very comfy. Continuing to feel the invitation, gravity. Where those places where the body interfaces with the earth, they're rising up to support you right now. And the more you rest back into that support, the more supported you become. The more you accept this invitation. The more you allow yourself to be supported, the more supported you are. Final corpse pose is a beautiful symbol. Because in our culture, we struggle with death and dying. And as with anything, if we don't practice, we're not going to get good at it. And so the symbolism of corpse pose is a preparation. It's teaching us that impermanence is the nature of nature. Allow this gesture of your body this statement be one of surrender. You have touched the feet of the Guru. And feeling so, so satisfied. You feel the tongue relax. Maybe the chin tips down just a hair. All the little thread muscles around your eyeballs starting to unwind and unravel. Eyes resting in their little nest. Shoulders sink to a natural position. Ah, feels so good. Just lean back. All the last residue of muscular tension draining out of the chest and shoulders, biceps, triceps, elbows, forearms, wrists, palms, every fingertip dripping in relaxation. Just the gentlest rise and fall of the belly as the breath becomes more and more effortless. Front body melting into back body, melting into the mat. Heavy hips as you relax your seat even more. Fronts of thighs melting into backs of thighs, melting into the floor. Knees feel so good and spacious. Calves, ankles, tops of the feet. Soles of the feet, heels of the feet, and every single toe. Let go. See if you can relax even more. As you rest, even more. In so deep in your breath. Mm. Mm. Notice how you feel. Awareness moving a little closer to the surface. Remembering your surroundings, this time and place. Mm. I greet my guru. I greet all gurus, bringers of light. I greet the east. I greet the west. I greet the north. I greet the south. I give thanks for all that there ever was. I give thanks for all that is. I give thanks for all that ever will be. May all beings be blissful. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. Gather up your knees, roll over to your side. And as you rest in embryonic form, in embryo pose like a little baby, do not let the symbolism be lost. You can lose the eye pillow, but don't lose the potency. I am whole. I am perfect. I am strong. I am powerful. I am loving. I am harmonious. I am rich. I am young. I am happy.